It is a good day to watch some Brood War replays, and we're watching one of my favorite heroes ever, Hero. Hero's an incredibly good Zerg player, a regular in ASL, and is playing against one of his teammates, JSA Sadream. And we haven't looked at a lot of sort of notable Zerg players in ZvT yet on the stream, so we're going to be checking that stuff out. Pinfeldorf says, aren't there like 5 players named Hero? There's so many players named Hero. There are so many players named Hero. It's insane. But this is a hero that's my favorite hero. So on Neodark Origin, I think that these bridges are some of the more interesting tactical formations in Brood War, because getting units to go from this side of the bridge to that side of the bridge is about as difficult as, like, you know, getting your cats to start doing farming, right? It is so hard to get the units across the dang bridge. It looks wide, but units kind of want to move up and left like this. So really, you only have about that much space of units moving across the ramp. Yes, you can clog the ramp with more things, but in terms of motion, it's actually a pretty thin boundary. And so Zerg players can do things where they contain lightly with mutalisks, and it's hard for the Terran player to actually get Marines and medics across. And sort of by the same token, if the Terran player is pushing in, the Zerg player can defend on the other side quite effectively with lurkers, dark swarms, and so on. But there are 3 bridges. There's a lot of maps historically that have had like single bridges, or, you know, Destination famously, the double bridge. But dude, the triple bridge means that you actually have to do a lot of, like, attentive positioning. But I actually hate playing this map as Zerg. Like, I truly despise this map. I think it's just an absolute nightmare. So, I mean, you have a natural expansion. Yeah, there's abilities to hit this from the back, but that doesn't really matter early game. Yes, you have a third, but, like, this 4th base positioning is kind of awkward. The top right, taking this as a base, its positioning is kind of awkward with respect to each other. If I pull way out and get rid of these, like, just being Zerg and trying to secure one of these, cool, I've secured this. This is a huge amount of space that I'm now trying to cover that has a lot of awkward terrain where I either have to enter my main and run back this way, or go out across the triple bridge to the middle and then back up. And it's kind of the same story here. This is like an easier to defend one if it's on your side of the bridge. But once you're here, where's your next base going to be? Ugh, it's kind of grody. So I think any build that's very proactive as Zerg is very good. Terrans have a pretty comfortable ability to get 3 bases. And really for Terrans, it's like, can you defend against the Mutalisk harass here early on? All right, let me do this. Spam. Excellent. So, when was your last SC1 game? Did you play any during the last 5 years? I don't know, Kooky, because, like, so there's a real weirdness for me thinking about when I haven't played these games, because I'll pop them open, I'll play some big game hunters or some 2v2s on random maps because it's just fun to play. But in terms of, like, when was I, like, competing and playing, like, more hardcore? The most recent hardcore 1v1 stint I've been doing is Age of Empires 2. And before that with Brood War, I don't know, 2019, 2020. Is that wrong? Maybe it was a little sooner than that. The pandemic has really messed with my ability to know what's happening with time. Over the pandemic, I did it. So, who knows when that doesn't begin. But, anyways. So, pretty common opening from Sadream. Just getting the wall off up. This is going to look really weird, where you do a depot, and then you have, like, the barracks behind here. But it's a way to form a super solid wall. And I don't speak Korean or read Korean, so if any of you can read what is being said, if it's highly offensive, I take no responsibility. So the sort of style du jour for Zergs is clever ways of making even more value out of Mutalisks, stretch you into the future. I mean, it's gotten to the point where formerly people kind of had a theory that if you wanted to get, Ling Muta, or if you wanted to defend against lots of aggression from a Terran, you would need the combination of Zerglings and Mutalisks. And that's going to be a lot of minerals, so you therefore want to make sure that you have a whole bunch of larvae to make drones, and then the lings and the mutas together. But I mean, players are basically just cutting lings in this matchup early game. It's insane. Jay Nosh says, what are your feelings on the Brood War Remaster? I think it's great. I love it. It's like the best thing ever, man. Outside of the fact that I can't get good peer-to-peer connection to Korea anymore. So again, this looks a little wonky, but Zerglings can't fit through these cracks. Whereas if the barracks was on top like this, lots of things can slip underneath it. Silent Knight says, cutting lings and surviving aggression seems crazy. To 2008, day 9? Yeah, that's the most insane thing I've ever heard. I mean, often you'll see a Zerg build like 2 Zerglings and just kind of get some positional scouting, sometimes 4 Zerglings as well. But herO's going to spend the immediate early gas getting a layer. This is some of the fun stuff that Terran players are doing now because they know that the Zergs are cutting so many Zerglings, they can get away with moving out, taking some pot shots, and moving back. Mr. Morton says, so Terran would prefer bottom side on this map. You would do the... Literally, you would do this exact same wall off, and you would just do it here. So you'd have depot, barracks depot. You wouldn't reflect it. And the first thing that you do with any map, if you're Protoss or Terran, is you go, all right, step 1, open this in a 1v0 and just wall myself in and see if I can squeeze things in there. This is the same Protoss hero in SC2. There's 2 Protoss heroes in SC2. There's Liquid Hero and the current hero who developed the mass zealot stalker style in PvZ that's very popular right now. Or at least I would say that's where it was popularized, let me say. Maybe not invented. But this is neither of those people. So Zergling speed going down, this is kind of an interesting... I mean, it's not interesting if you've played a lot of Brood War, but I know there's a lot of new Brood War watchers right here. You get the Zergling speed, and you're really not going to make that many Zerglings. The Zergling speed allows you to effectively permanently deny scouting, because look at this. This is a really archetypical skill in this matchup. You just run in various circles with this SCV, being a real turkey. And once Lings get speed, they can pick this off, but until Lings get speed, you can keep this alive nearly forever. And now we see it. The style du jour in this matchup is to say, okay, let me just get Mutalisks as fast as possible. I know, as Zerg, I don't need to build any defenses because I see this wall off, and I can literally park and just observe that this is not making Marines. Very simple, right? I mean, it's like, it takes lots of years of experience and understanding to know that there's like no threats coming, but I mean, yeah, it's not building anything. Hey, great. Oh yeah, I really like this style a lot. And I'll talk about this in just a second, but yeah, as Zerg, because you're not building sunken colonies, because you're being very, very efficient with how you're moving and microing your drones and all this stuff, this allows you to have just enough to sneak in a hatchery, and then you'll still have enough gas to get around 6 Mutalisks or so. Maybe even get up to, 8, 9 quite quickly, but I've been seeing Zergs rush for like 6, 7, stop and do lots of drones, and then start adding in more. But yeah, this is the style that I really like seeing out of Terrans. It's a really fun style, it's really effective. You rush for +1 attack, you then get the Academy because you'll need stim and range. So you'll have a little bit of difficulty dealing with Mutalisks. This is a really pain in the ass spot for Terrans to defend. Anytime a map has this sort of terrain, I'm always just like, yum, 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 as a Zerg player, because basically the minerals need to be defended from this side, and if you build turrets here, you can hit it from this side with the Mutalisks. So you need turrets like here and here, the top and the bottom, and the front and the back. Oh, it's just so good. Yeah, and you have to do some larva floating because you don't quite have enough minerals due to the building of this hatch, but it's fine. So 6 Zerglings is a good amount to be able to just run around and shut out all vision. 99 games out of 100, nothing's here, but every once in a while you'll find something really goofy, like a player that's hiding a factory to go for speed vultures, which if you, and you've watched ASL, yeah, we saw that. Sheriff, be quiet. Meow, meow, meow. All right, my cat meows at the door, so then I go, hey, come here. She goes, great. She meows at the door, so that then I invite her over here, and then she gets her pets. Mikitsu says, can you kill the turrets with mutas reasonably? Turrets die so fast in this game. Oh my god. In the older school days, players would get 5 racks at this point. So Sadream would be getting 5 racks to go for mass +1 Marines to apply pressure. But nowadays you can only afford 4 because you need to make so many turrets. So this is some cute counter-aggression from the Zerg player. Does this work? What? No, you're kidding. You're joking me. That never happens. That never happens. That's so funny. So the theme of StarCraft 1 of the last few years is clever attack timings. So take, for instance, this attack where we had a bunch of Marines. They have 20 health because they double stemmed. But this Terran player moved out really early with almost no Marines. Why would you do that? Well, we scouted this Zerg going for the hatchery. So we know for a fact, fast layer and the hatchery means very little ling count and kind of an awkward number of drones. So just moving forward can force this Zerg player to make sunken colonies or make Zerglings. Almost always, they're going to have to make sunken colonies. And actually, let me go through that logic because this is like the perfect example of why I think modern StarCraft 1 is like so cool. If I, the Terran player, am moving out as this spire is getting close to done, what is the Zerg player doing? They're saving up their larvae to build mutalisks all at once. And there you see 6 mutalisks being built all at once. Okay. So, if I move out right as the spire's hatching, the Zerg player doesn't want to make a bunch of Zerglings to deal with this attack. They would pop out just in time, but then I've screwed my ability to get mutalisks. So the only way to not lose drones is to build 2 sunken colonies. You don't want to be building 2 sunken colonies right now as the Zerg player. So in a weird way, moving out with these Marines at a very weird, unusual time, where just in this build, the Zerg would not have a lot of Zerglings to be able to do much. Moving out at just this time forces 2 sunken colonies. If the Zerg player doesn't do this, the Terran can bust in, and the Terran is allowed to spend one of their scans to check. No scan over here, but 1 scan here. You don't need more than 1 scan because you're going to be up against mutalisks guaranteed. So the 1 scan allows you to identify, yo, this guy didn't build the sunken colonies, I'm going to punish him. I did build the sunken colonies, great, my attack worked. So you get these weird moves where a player will move out, scan, move back. And the damage is done. It's really, really, really cool. So the fact that this happened is so funny because this is another way of going, well, yeah, if I'm going to need to build these 2 sunken colonies anyways, I know that I don't need the Zerglings back home for defense, and so therefore I will use them to counterattack and maybe do some damage. Right? These are not like probabilistic moves. It's not like, well, he might be doing this, he might be doing that, who knows, let me just try to, like, you know, mind game them out. Right? It's just lots of calculation and understanding how this specific build uniquely is and is not good against this other specific build. I'm trying to select this building, please. There we go. So you can see a little bit why the Terran player wants to rush for the Academy. It's that way you can get stim and this range done at the same time. And look at how many turrets you have to make, man. This stuff is insane. So also very common these days to get +1 attack for mutas, just leveraging mutas. And you can see up here in the top, you'll see hero just making oodles of drones for the next little bit of time. Dude. I mean, look at this. You have turrets defending the front, 1 turret defending this sort of area, these turrets together can help defend the ramp, and still, it's so hard to actually defend against this. It's so tough. There's the drones and the mutas getting built. Mutas are so good. One gets picked off, Mamma Mia. So this is kind of an interesting move from Sad Dream, which is to move to the front here to try to get onto the other side of the bridge. You've heard me talk about how critical it is to get control of this bridge. And this is where the Zerg player is just like, all right, I'm going to keep using Mutalisk to stay alive. I'm going to get a third base, continue drone production, oodles of drones, not Zerglings, notably. It's like drones, mutas, expansions, and then soon enough, a Hive and or Hydralisk Den pops down. +1 is not yet done. And, dude, turrets just don't quite deal enough damage. So you just continue to pick them off. Yeah, turrets deal a very small amount of damage. So there's... So turrets deal 20 damage, and so against light units... Or, I'm sorry, it's not light, medium, heavy. It's small, medium, large. Which is a weird way to define it. And I'm pretty sure that these are small units. Yeah, small units. They're only dealing 10 damage. And so here's another weird situation that is just not as common. Well, this situation is just weird. It used to be, like if you were around 6-7 years, it was almost like we all agreed that we're going to do this sort of same thing. I'm the Terran player. I'm going to be moving out with lots of +1 Marines, and I'm going to be threatening your front, so you're going to have to pull your Mutalisk back to deal with them, and that's what's going to keep me safe. And now Zerg players are just like, dude, kill this third, see if I care. I'm going to leave the mutas in your main base and punish the crap out of you. Because if these turrets fall, you just don't get to make Marines anymore. So these kinds of pushes are, frankly, defensive plays. Because if you get the +1 armor too, then Sunken Colonies are quite weak. So this is really bad news for hero. This is where you can start losing Mutalisks aplenty. Wow, not microing at all? Really? Really? I mean, yeah, you're going to win that, but, I mean, you can still move in and out. There's the Hydra Den, the Queen's Nest, the usual sort of stuff. That's not the worst. That's not the worst. Still have 4 hatcheries, so you can replenish quite quickly. And the very old school way of responding to this is like, dude, I'm going to make a bunch of lurkers. Because, I mean, my opponent is going so crazy with Marines, right? And now this barracks is floated back here. But really just continuing to make Mutalisks is way stronger. Because then you can do things like this and still have an effective force that's mobile against the giant pack of Marines. This is something that I first saw Soul Key do a lot, maybe 4 or 5 ASLs ago, excuse me. Soul Key would just make lots of Mutalisks. Like, you know, already we see that there's 11 Mutalisks here. And you see beyond 11 getting made. Like, Soul Key would just get like 16, 20 mutas and just harass like crazy, control the bridge. Only now is Sad Dream actually able to get starports up. But yeah, everything's looking pretty archetypical. Laser Soup says, is this map influencing the decision to build more mutas? I think there's 2 things that are impacting the decision to build more mutas in StarCraft. One in general. One of them is people have figured out so many ways to apply pressure with mutas early on that if a Terran player is weak, they will underbuild turrets. Because here you see 2 by the, you see 2 here, 2 here, 5 here, and turrets have been picked off. I believe there used to be a turret here. Like, there's... If a Terran player doesn't do that, Zergs now know how to just literally kill them. So, one reason why players are building Mutalisks is not just because of those kill threats, but because of how that changes this mid-game period. if the turrets are getting built, starports are getting delayed. If starports are getting delayed, science vessels are getting delayed. Science vessels are the thing that just annihilate mutalisks. Like, they destroy mutalisks so badly. I mean, for a long time, the sentiment was, dude, I don't really want to ever build mutas because they will become utterly obsolete immediately, so I'm not going to fucking do that. I mean, why would I do that? What am I? What do I hate my money? More than Valkyries? 1,000 times more than Valkyries. Insanely, ridiculously much more than Valkyries. But I think another reason why the Mutalisks are relevant is you can kind of just do a judgment call and be like, this is still kind of vulnerable. Mutalisks are insanely good at managing 3 bridges. You can imagine if I put 2 lurkers here, they're controlling this bridge, but now these bridges are not as controlled, whereas 12 Mutalisks are mobile, bounce back and forth. Any value that we can find going for this. Because literally getting your Marines to join together is a challenge. And Zerg players are just going to be annoying like this forever. Slow influx of, you know, Lings. No lurkers have been made yet. And yeah, here's the bridge control moment. You can see a couple units get isolated as they're moving around. So the Terran player, or the Zerg players, are trying to find ways to pick off these stragglers. This is the kind of bridge control that I was mentioning. God, this is so... this is a rough angle with the medic on the other side. I mean, the Zerg player is still going to come out on top, but did lose a lot of Zerglings there. And so if you really are trying to control a bridge like this as the Zerg player, this is another reason why you want to make a lot of Mutalisks, is because you acknowledge, yeah, I'm probably going to be losing a lot of stuff. Filer Mound. There we are. There we are. Dude, this is just brutal to watch. I mean, the work that Mutalisk can do is kind of insane. Yeah, this bridge is so annoying, Laser Soup. I can't even stress. Yeah, the fact that Mutalisk can ball up is super, super strong. 100,000 million billion %. There's also some other small adjustments that I've seen players make more and more. Like delaying the adrenal gland. Because, hey, if I'm not going to have lots of Zerglings, I don't really need to get the adrenal gland super fast. So if I'm low on gas, because I want to be making defilers and consume, may as well just save the 200 gas for this sort of tense moment. Rowan says, I'm so happy we're doing SC content. I've been dreaming about this for 10 years. Dude, it is really devastating that there's just not as good a connection to Korean servers as I would like. But, you know. Still enjoy ourselves. Oh, interesting. Going for these upgrades. Okay. So, my overwhelmingly desired way to play, once you get to Hive Tech as Zerg, is to transition into a Hydralisk Lurker Zergling composition. If you are low on gas geysers, like here we have 3, and getting a 4th will be a challenge. It's either this exposed base or this exposed base. Getting to 5 is nearly impossible. Because of that, going for things like Ultralisks or these really gas-heavy compositions, like Ultraling is awesome. It's very mobile. It's good on super wide open maps. But on a map like this that's really tight and closed where it's awkward to get a lot of resources, dude, I really like going Hydraling Lurker Defiler. It's not as gas-intensive. You don't need as many lurkers because you just plague things and then the Hydralisks shoot them down. Monorail says, what's the max acceptable ping for StarCraft? I'd say 50. I'd say 50. Once you get to 70 or 80, like, Mutalisks are just trash. They're just so bad. They're so stupid. I hate them. It makes me so mad. Yeah, there's the delayed adrenal gland. And now we have ourselves a nice little mid-game. I think that Sadream will probably go to 6 or 7 barracks just to make sure that control over the center of the map is maintained. If Terran is ever pushed back on the other side of this bridge, it's over, man. This is actually pretty safe. Yeah, I guess going 6 barracks and taking this seems very reasonable. And here it is, the Dark Swarm. Since you said there's no peer-to-peer, but a tunnel software plus land play does not work. Let me be clear. Literally, there are ways to do peer-to-peer. Literally. But there's not the ease of just being able to log in, go to the official Battle.net servers, hit find match, connect to someone, and know that there's going to be a reliable, low-paying peer-to-peer connection. So my complaint is about the ease. Like, I can always grumpily get a launcher and a bunch of other stuff. I mean, technically that's true for most games. Yeah, the spacing in the middle of the map is really awkward for Zerg. Where, like, just trying to defend this and this, yeah, it's a short distance between the two, but, like, yeah, see, here's a drone trying to come in already. All right, kind of inching forward. Not enough yet. Science Vessel's going to pick this off. This is what I find, like, so sweet about this stage in the game. The Terran player is going to be bopping back and forth and back and forth. I'm wondering, where are we going, guys? Okay. Zerg really needs to be mono-focused on this. And even once you've controlled this, you can see that this is quite exposed from low-ground things. Yeah, Dark Swarm is a stupid ability, man. So for those of you that don't know how this orange cloud works, see ya. So this is the Terran annoying spell. They just target one of your units with Irradiate. This will just deal damage to the unit until it dies, and anything that it's nearby will also take damage. So it's kind of like poison a unit, mark it for death. So if you have science vessels, and this is why the Terran player builds 2 of these starports, is to produce them 2 at a time. You just start slowly whittling away at the lurker count. Slowly, slowly, slowly. Slowly whittling away the defiler count. And Dark Swarm, this orange cloud, there we go. Everything under here takes no damage from range. So this means these Marines cannot harm anything under this cloud. But comically, lurkers, even though they have a ranged attack, just given the way that the engine works, it's not a ranged attack, it's splash damage. And so splash damage is full in Dark Swarm. So lurkers deal full damage under Dark Swarm. So it's kind of this weird thing where Zerg gets ranged units that are burrowed that deal AoE damage, and it totally deals tons of damage. And so the recourse for Terran is these sweeps. Move back, move forward, move back, move forward. Try not to lose your science vessels to Scourge. It is an extremely control-intensive battle. Gamete Meiosis. No, this is Metasynaptic Node. Oh my god. Gamete Meiosis is the name of the Queen energy upgrade. And so, starting to pepper in more fire bats is also common. Fire bats as a unit are trash, but they do deal damage under Dark Swarm. And so, by dealing damage under Dark Swarm, hey, maybe if my opponent is isolated, has small sets of units, the fire bats can maintain positions. Like if there's just 2 lurkers, maybe if I come in at the right angle, I can pick that stuff off. And I feel like one of the great examples, oh my god, I love this. One of the great examples of why this game is so awesome and also so painful is that, like, walking from this location to this location, it's too far. It's too far, so let's get a Nidus Canal so we can teleport units from here to here. Yeah, also really common, moving some Marines over to these sides here to make sure that in case some small numbers of Lings, Defilers, and Lurkers are here, we can stem and run back to these bunkers in time. But, ooh, we see factories getting made? Dude, hell yeah. Hell yeah. Alright, Terran. They're in super mobile town. They're just getting themselves all positioned up here, controlling the other side of the bridge. You kind of have to be in this position as Terran, otherwise you are hosed. Oh, not quite. There's no Defilers in here, so the Terran's going to try to sweep in, because, again, if there's even a small number of things that can get through... Like, literally 10 Marines are enough to destroy an entire base. So, like, anything that manages to live after an invasion from Terran is, like, enough to win the game. Revenant says, is it still possible to learn StarCraft 1 and 2 in this day and age? I'm worried about not finding people to help learn our community. Oh, there's plenty of games running all the time. Plenty. And you'll honestly find lots of stuff to continue to work on. This game will not be shy about letting you know what you're doing wrong. I assure you. So, I mean, I've talked about this when I was doing the opening and just looking at the map. On this map, which I guess is also called Sylphid. I think every map is called Sylphid. I was saying that defending this is kind of awkward, and defending this is kind of awkward, and we're seeing the awkwardness play out, where Terran is constantly threatening to just jam up into the main base. Also, constantly threatening this one. This is going to be hard to mine minerals from, and soon enough, siege tanks are going to be literally sieging here and blasting this down. Painful says, do you remember back when people were trying to figure out what Darkstorm actually did since there's no tooltip? Or were you smarter than I was as a kid? Man, people had no idea what anything did for years. Oh wait, I am going to take this question from Uncle Slim. Oh, excuse me, kitten. Excuse me. Uncle Slim says, thoughts on newer RTS games abandoning attack and defense upgrades? In the same vein, would SC1 and SC2 be better off without them if they were designed without them initially? What games are abandoning attack and defense upgrades? That's a crazy thing to do. Why would you ever abandon those things? Okay, well, there's Stormgate didn't have it. Well, I mean, I have no idea if Stormgate is going to do that or not do that. Because, like, Stormgate is, like, very incomplete right now. Isn't that right? Have they confirmed that they're not going to add attack or defense upgrades or something like that? Like, I mean, it's one of those things where I will not, even if the devs are like, we're not going to put in attack defense upgrades. I'm sure there's people like me that are like, put them in. And they might wind up putting them in at some point. So I'm going to wait and hold off judgment. Okay, so outside of there's Stormgate, and then there's Zero Space, which I've just irresponsibly not looked much at Zero Space. Uncle Slim says, Monk has stated it locks you down certain tech/unit paths, I believe. I could be wrong. I mean, it is true that if you have something like infantry upgrades, so now I'm going to make lots and lots of infantry, and it's going to lock me into that. That's just literally a true statement. But the thing is, first of all, I think that's a positive, not a negative, right? I have chosen to commit to this set of units, and that's what I have. Yeah. So let me just speak in a vacuum. There's a lot of RTS games that are coming down the pipeline that are like not launched, that are mid-iteration and stuff like that. So for me, I feel like, I mean, okay, let me level with you guys. I have been broadcasting for 15 years, okay? 15 years. And I have followed the development and launch of games and communities losing their damn mind about things that are not finished and so on. I have seen communities go ballistic about what they imagine something will be like, and in the final product, it's fine. And so I sort of, having been a target of this. Day 9, I think this thing that you're going to do upcoming is going to be terrible, and I think you should absolutely cancel your plans to do those kinds of streams. It's appalling how horrible it's going to be, and it's going to ruin your entire career, blah, blah, blah. This has made me just try not to do that. So, like, anytime there is a game in development, I'll have loose thoughts on it, but I sort of want to withhold any opinion until the game is done. You know what I mean? I'll withhold it until it's done. And so I don't have an ability to comment on any of those specific games. But if you did ask me the question, hey, Sean, what do I think about attack and defense upgrades in general in games? In general, I'm going to give an answer, but I want to be clear. I'm going to withhold judgment to any specific game that's not doing that until they're literally done. So, in a vacuum, here are my thoughts. Generic attack and defense upgrades are fucking awesome. They're the fucking sweetest shit ever. Oh my god, scaling. I love scaling. It's so good. Dude, if I have 20 Marines and I build 5 more, I have 25 Marines. All right. If I have 50 Marines and I build 5 more, I have 55 Marines. It's not that exciting, but when you get +3 attack, you re-fall in love with all your Marines again. Oh, in Age of Empires, I have a bunch of Knights. I've been making them all Castle Age. I just hit Imperial. Oh, am I starting the Cavalier upgrade the very second that I can? You bet your whole ass I'm going to do it. I'm going to win your butt. You're going to be buttless. You'll look like Gumby, okay? I get my Cavaliers. Knights get upgraded into Cavaliers. Cavaliers get upgraded into Paladins. And suddenly my entire set of horses have those cool-looking horse skirts when they're going into battle. And I'm just like, I'm about to fuck shit up. It's awesome. It's fucking sweet. And so, I think that in terms of raw sweetness, it's awesome. It's just good. It's fun. Does it commit me to things? Yeah, that's the whole point. I want to be committed to things. I don't think anyone is going to be like, well, I don't ever want to really make a decision. I want to be able to switch at any point. No, this is why I like ARPGs, like, in Path of Exile, where I can play one character for like 80 hours and it keeps getting more and more specialized. It's fucking awesome. I also think that scaling also adds a lot of strategic richness. Ooh, right now, you have +2 attack, and I have +1 armor. So my Zerglings need to be careful against your Zealots. But once I get +2 armor, my Zerglings can now go ham on your Zealots until you get +3 attack, and I need to pull back. Like, that's awesome. Tuesday Twitch is one of the points made for those +1 upgrades is that the impact is ambiguous without deeper game knowledge. Like, that one upgrade can drastically change the outcome in a specific interaction. I feel like you've just explained to me why strategy games are fun. Wait a minute. There's deeper knowledge that I can dive into to learn more interesting interactions than what they are simply in face value? That sounds like the awesomest thing I've ever fucking heard. Oh my god, that's so good. Imagine, like, obviously Tuesday Twitch, I've known you for a long time. I know you're not saying this, so I'm still gonna straw man a little here, so don't mind me. If someone came to me and was like, good news, I've made one unit called the Rock. It beats this other unit called the Scissors. The stats of them will never change. Man, I want to get the +2 scissors damage upgrade so I can start snipping rocks. Yeah, that's fucking sweet. That's something to consider. There's some texture there. Like, I bluntness is great. It's awesome that spearmen counter horse people in Age of Empires. If there's halberdiers against my knights, I generally want to run away. But halberdiers are slower. Knights are faster. So if I have enough halberdiers isolated, I can actually swarm those halberdiers with my knights and kill them, and now the trade is better for me, even though, dollar for dollar, the halberdiers are better than knights. So all of a sudden, there's a sort of fuzzy equation of, man, do I have enough knights to just swarm those halberdiers? And sometimes I'll be wrong. And the fact that there's fuzziness means I need to get more skillful, which means there's more richness, which means there's more depth. That's fucking awesome. It's the awesomest shit ever. Every game should have attack and defense upgrades. Now, I think that, like, if you have a game that's only attack and defense, it's a little bland. If all you're ever doing was just like, all right, I have my ranger, I get +2 attack. Oh no, he has +2 rangers. My warriors will get +1 armor. Okay, I'll now get +3 attack. Oh, I'll get +2 armor. And this is all that's happening. Sure. Ow. So, like, you know, I think that they're positivity there. It just, and I mean, there's a notion of, like, texture and depth. Like, the fact that these barracks make Marines, you now have a question of how many barracks do I want to make and at what time. This game could just let you build the units directly. If you just built the units directly, that would make the game more straightforward, but the fact that the barracks has to make them adds a little bit more messiness, a little bit more unclarity. You heard me say, ooh, maybe 7 barracks is right. Nah, maybe 6 if you're going to be taking this expansion that quickly. There's just texture. The more texture and nuance and all this stuff that's sitting underneath the hood, the better. If you had to memorize a bunch of attack and defense upgrades, and if you didn't understand all of them perfectly, you'd lose the game. That would kind of suck. But in general, gimme attack and armor upgrades, man. Gimme generic upgrades. Uh-oh. So right now, hero. Oh, there it is. Dude, Hydra Defiler is so sick. This is the modern comp, man. This is what dreams are made of. A spore colony right here. So this bridge area, suddenly Zerg has control over. Zerg can now move more comfortably across. And we'll probably just do some Dark Swarms, probably do some more Plagues. If you get the energy upgrade, you can do a Dark Swarm and a Plague. And it's that sort of combo that's the juicies. This is really great play from Sad Dream to just, like, continue to aggressively expand out. Siege tanks are only okay. Siege tanks are only okay. They are specifically good against a player who's building Hydras. This is actually an error that helped me win a lot of games I didn't deserve to win. Most of the time, if you are building siege tanks and your opponent's going ultra ling, siege tanks kind of just suck. They'll often hit Zerglings that don't have that many nearby buddies, because when Zerglings move, they tend to spread out like this. Siege tanks generally not used against Ling Ultra as much. Typically, it's a lot more of mines, a few siege tanks, and then lots of science vessels and marines. But if you have Hydras, siege tanks take a dump on Hydras, man. And I've played against many players that neglect to do any of this. Oh, yeah. Oh, are we in 2003? Hydra Lurker versus Marine Balls. Ooh, Plagues are okay. Plagues are all right. This is so good. Here's having some money problems. Might even be able to afford another hatchery, but it's a hatchery of shame. And what is this the unit panel? Great. See, I don't have access to my keyboard because of my cat here. She's lying on it right now. Good girl. Good baby. So this is a really tough position to be in as the Terran player. All these science vessels are one shot to get killed. So you want to move in, irradiate these. Generally, it'll take 2 or 3 shots. But if 2 or 3 shots kills you, that's busto. That's over. That's GG. So this kind of slow, like, sweeping back and forth as the Zerg player waiting to get enough Defilers, enough Zerglings. It's super easy to over or underbuild Defilers. If you overbuild them, you don't have enough gas to do anything else. And then you just kind of have this pathetic Zergling Defiler army that's very easy to roll over, because it doesn't have as much positional might as a Lurker. It's also very easy to underbuild Defilers as they're getting irradiated, to the point where you just do not any longer have Dark Swarms for various areas. And this is so funny. Look at how many Fire Bats are here. You're gonna want siege tanks. Fire Bats are pretty not good against your Hydras. I mean, they're not the worst, but they're also pretty bad. I mean, especially with the Plague. All right, fine. Stays outside of it a little bit. Are Fire Bats melee units? Kind of. They shoot in this sort of weird T-shaped looking thing. And because it's splash, they need to be at melee range, but they do a splash attack, so they're able to deal damage under Dark Swarm. Because here's the thing. When we say melee and ranged, we typically mean, like, what is the actual distance I need to be at to attack you? Melee and range are like labels granted to certain attacks. There are melee attacks that have range to them, for instance. So yeah, it's like a melee ranged unit. The literal statement is that it needs to be at melee range to attack. I think it has like a little bit of range to it, but it's melee effectively. And it blasts a bunch of fire that kind of shoots out in a T-shaped looking thing. So the actual amount of damage happens at a distance from it. Hey, get off the keyboard. So this sort of moment in a Terran versus Zerg, if we say, hey, what went wrong? It's the Terran losing control of the middle. Because once you lose control of that middle area, I mean, it's just a matter of time before there's enough slow-moving defilers chewing their way through. Yes, siege tanks can help. Defense matrix is not that good. Continuing to move in. Wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. It's a Rayleigh unit for ranged melee. God, Plague is so nasty. Dude, that's going to be the greatest Plague of all time. Alright, units spread out at the last second. Yeah, I mean, in my eyes, this game is super, super over. I mean, Sad Dream looked like they were doing some good stuff for a little bit. But, I mean, at this point in time, this is just slow death. The Terran army is as far to one side of the map as possible. I mean, these tanks will prevent a little bit of attacking in the middle, but I mean, not really. Yeah, this is the vessels all getting plagued is so brutal. Yeah, Terran building a vessel count. There's some famous games where a Terran player just had like 17 science vessels and therefore was unable to get broken because they just kept irradiating everything. Yeah, this is looking rough. There's a lot of fire bats coming in here, but I do think the way is you come up here, you cut in between, then you clamp on this from both sides, or you just slowly whittle it with science vessels. Okay. Yeah, this is the way. This is the way. Every Zerg player dreams of infesting command centers. Yeah, I mean the fire bats can do impressive damage, but they're just not that great against these compositions. Oh man, this is some pain right here. All right, all the medics hanging out under Dark Swarm with the Hydras. Yeah, light them up. Light them up. Small squad coming in. Oh, this is going to be something beautiful here. So, I mean, there is still some hope. But it starts becoming difficult when this Defiler can swarm in here and this expansion can get taken out. Losing control of the middle is just devastating for this Zerg player. Especially for this Terran player. Shoot the drones! Shoot the drones. I'm keeping a watchful eye on this right side of the map. I love how tactical this point in the game is. As Zerg, up to this point in time, it's just a nightmare. It's so easy to just die to a bunch of Marines sprinting their way in somewhere. This is really great awareness from Sad Dream to start irradiating these and pushing these back. Are these high-level players? Yeah, herO's one of the greatest Zerg players of all time, and this is one of his teammates. It's also one of the top players on the server. Spaceman says, what's the name of this map? It's Sylphid. Every map is Sylphid. For those of you that don't know what I'm talking about, Polypoid and Sylphid, I thought those maps had each other's names. Yeah, this is Neo Dark Origin. 2.1, I think. Was it 2.2? I don't know. So the way that naming works in Brood War is that someone makes a map, like Dark Origin, they do an update to it that's significant, and they call it Neo Dark Origin. And then as they continue to iterate on it, they call it Neo Dark Origin 2 and Neo Dark Origin 2.1. So it's kind of weird. It's kind of like an array that's indexed at Neo and goes 1, 2, 3 after that. It's so funny. But yeah, I mean, I really thought that this was an extraordinarily clean game from Hero. Because, like, at this point in time, this is the tricky spot. This is the point where I thought that Zerg might lose. Nidus Canal ends at the perfect time. And this stabilizes. And then, again, the goal for this period of the game, I will assert, is to maintain hold over the center of the map. It's very easy to get pulled to this side, pulled too far to this side because you want to expand. I think fourth bases on this map is just a nightmare. I hate playing on this map. Give me fighting spirit. I only want catch up with fries. I want to go to bed at 10:30 every night. I am the most vanilla player of all time. Yeah, like, these sorts of moments were excellent, but you can see the Zerg is beginning to get hold over this middle. And I think that, like, a sweep, like, these tanks here could have been out farther. This push here was great from Hero. This is just a control thing, because this single lurker did a lot of stuff. And I mean, this lurker, this one bastion lurker, holding out, denying vision. Yeah, I mean, that was really the key, is this not getting broken and Terran not being as forward with these units. Oh, it was so good. What a good play. What a good gamer. Let me Alt QQ over you. There you go.